What if I told you that the thing holding you back right now is something you're still trying to keep alive? A relationship that ended long ago, a dream that no longer fits who you've become, a habit that once protected you but now destroys you, a version of yourself you've outgrown. This is the story of an old woman who spent 10 years watering dead plants. Not because she didn't know they were dead, but because she couldn't accept that something she loved had stopped growing. And before you judge her, ask yourself, what dead thing are you still watering? She lived in a quiet neighborhood, in a small house with a wooden fence and a garden that once overflowed with life. People used to stop and admire it. Children picked flowers from it. Neighbors complimented it. Her garden was her pride, her joy, her identity. But life has a way of changing things. Her husband passed away. Her children moved far. And slowly the garden began to fade just like she did. One winter, a brutal frost swept through the town. It killed half her plants overnight. The roses turned black. The lilies collapsed. The sunflowers bowed their heads like they were grieving with her. But the next morning she walked outside with her watering can and she watered them anyway. Day after day, week after week, year after year. Neighbors whispered, "Why does she keep watering dead plants?" But she didn't hear them, or maybe she did and chose not to listen. Because sometimes, watering something dead is easier than admitting it's gone. For years, the old woman carried the same routine. Wake up, make tea, step outside, and water the plants that no longer lived. It was a ritual, a habit, a memory she refused to release. But one afternoon, something shifted. A young neighbor, a boy no older than 16, walked past her fence. He had seen her do this every day for as long as he could remember. He admired her consistency, but he also sensed something deeper, something heavier. This time he stopped. He watched her pour water over the brittle stems, the cracked soil, the lifeless roots. He hesitated, unsure if he should speak, but compassion pushed him forward. "Ma'am," he said softly, "why do you still water these plants? They're not coming back." The woman froze. Not because she was offended, but because no one had dared to ask her that question in 10 years. She looked at him, really looked at him, and for a moment, she saw the innocence of someone who hadn't yet learned how painful letting go can be. Her voice trembled as she answered. "I know they're dead," she whispered. "I've known for a long time." The boy blinked, confused. "Then why keep watering them?" She lowered her gaze to the soil, running her fingers over the dry, lifeless petals. "Because these plants remind me of who I used to be," she said. "And I'm afraid that if I stop watering them, I'll lose the last piece of myself." Her words hung in the air like a confession she had never spoken aloud. And in that moment, the truth revealed itself, not just to the boy, but to anyone who has ever held on too long. We don't cling to dead things because we believe they'll come back. We cling because we're terrified of what their absence will reveal. Psychologists call this identity attachment, the fear that if we let go of something familiar, we'll lose a part of who we are. Faith calls it holding on to what God has already released, trying to resurrect what was never meant to rise again. But the woman's truth goes even deeper. She wasn't watering plants. She was watering memories. Memories of a time when her husband sat beside her, laughing as they planted seeds together. Memories of her children running through the garden, picking flowers and placing them in her hair. Memories of a life that felt full, warm, and alive. The garden wasn't just soil. It was her past. Her comfort, her identity, and letting it go felt like losing everything all over again. How many of us do the same? We stay in relationships long after the love has died because we're afraid of being alone. We chase dreams that no longer fit us because we're scared to admit we've changed. We hold on to habits that once protected us because we don't know who we are without them. We cling to versions of ourselves that no longer exist because growth feels like betrayal. We water dead things because the alternative, facing the truth, feels too painful. But here's the deeper psychological reality. Avoidance doesn't protect you, it traps you. And here's the spiritual truth. God cannot bless the person you pretend to be. He can only bless the person you're willing to become. The boy didn't understand all of this, but he felt the weight of her words. He nodded gently, as if acknowledging a pain he couldn't fully comprehend. And the woman smiled, a sad, fragile smile, because she knew the boy meant well. But she also knew something he didn't. Letting go isn't a moment, it's a process. A slow, painful peeling away of the past until you're brave enough to face the present. And she wasn't ready, not yet. But the question he asked, the truth he forced her to confront, would become the seed of change. One morning, she stepped into her garden like she always did, but something felt different. The air was still, the soil was dry, the watering can feel heavier than usual. She knelt beside the dead roses, touched the brittle stems. And for the first time in 10 years, she allowed herself to feel the truth. "It's over," she whispered, and the moment she said it, something inside her broke. She cried not because the plants were dead, but because she finally admitted she had been living in the past. She had been watering memories, watering grief, watering a version of herself that no longer existed. But here's the beautiful part. Sometimes the moment you break is the moment you begin to heal. She stood up, wiped her tears, and did something she never imagined she could do. She pulled out every dead plant, every root, every reminder of what used to be. And when she finished, she looked at the empty soil. For the first time in a decade, she didn't see the loss. She didn't see failure. She didn't see the end. She saw space. Space for something new. Space for something alive. Space for something God had been waiting to plant. That day, she learned a truth that many people never learn. You cannot grow a new life in soil filled with dead things. Letting go isn't a weakness. Letting go is wisdom. Letting go is strength. Letting go is obedience. Some things die because their season is over. Some things die because God is protecting you. Some things die because you've outgrown them. And some things die so something greater can take their place. The old woman didn't lose her garden. She rediscovered it. And you can too. So let me ask you gently but honestly, what dead thing are you still watering? A relationship, a dream, a habitat, a memory, a version of yourself you've outgrown. You deserve a life that grows, a life that blooms, a life that breathes, but growth requires courage, and courage begins with letting go. If this story touched you, you're in the right place. This channel is all about asterisk faith, psychology, wisdom, and the stories that help us grow into who we're meant to be. If you're ready to stop watering what's dead and start planting what's alive, join this community. And before you go, share this in the comments. What's one dead plant you're finally ready to stop watering? Your answer might be the seed that helps someone else grow.